So I'd like to welcome everyone for joining us. The session is recorded. So we will share immediately after the session. We will share the recording with you. So if you miss anything, you can just watch the video and catch up. Also, if you're logged off later on, you don't have to stress. We will send you the recording. We will also send you the PowerPoint presentation, so you don't have to miss anything. Okay, so we will have time later on to to ask questions. We'll have a Q&A. Please write down all your questions. We do have a lot of work that we want to cover. It's quite a heavy webinar because it's a lot of things that we need to cover in content. But we're going to go through it as quickly as possible. So my name is Khalid Smith. For those of you that do not know me, I'm the founder of the Greenhouse Foundation. Our core focus as a foundation is job creation and economic growth. We believe that small businesses has a huge impact on our economy. So we want to help you grow, create some jobs, grow our economy, and if our economy is good and healthy, everyone benefits from that. Okay, so that's what we do as a foundation, and we run these programs on webinars every single month on all subjects focused on businesses and job creation. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Go. Great. Yeah. It's great. Excellent. So operational planning, that is what we're going to be covering today for small businesses. So we're going to look at, and the reason why this is such an important part of any business, and it really doesn't matter. We're going to do a short poll once everyone is logged in, just to have an indication of the type of industries that you guys are in, because I'd like to use, examples pertaining to your industries. So we'll do a short poll in about 2 or 3 minutes once everyone is logged in. But we're going to cover your resources, right? Your products, how to measure operations within your business. And remember, this forms part of the BMG the Grow business model, which looks at your income streams, which looks at your resources, which looks at your operations and your management processes. And it's one of the key areas that links everything, is the processes and systems that you need to put in place in your business. Because remember, we start small, and as we scale our business, we realize that it's very, very difficult for you as a business owner, to control and see everything that is happening in your business. Because remember, it's not just you. As you grow, you have staff, you have resources, you have equipment, you have different people working for you, and you need to track all of that in order to scale and grow. And that is why we want to grow businesses, and remember, we want to create jobs. And so we want you to grow and scale, but that is very risky, as a small business owner, to go through that scaling process. Because it's not only you that need to scale, it's your processes and systems that need to scale, and you need to keep an eye on everything. So it's really difficult, and this is why we offering this workshop, so that you guys can have a better understanding of operational management. Okay, so we're going to look at, yes, in operations, it looks at the resources that you're going to need to do the job, whether it is a service or you're manufacturing or it's retail, but what you need to be able to do the work, whether it's products or services that it is linked to. And we're going to link it, each of them, to specific tasks, which we're going to break down into little bite-sized pieces that we can measure. So yes, it is, and when we cover the things that needs to get done today, and it looks like a lot, it seems like a lot, but in actual fact, once you've done this, it makes things a lot easier, even though, you know, initially it's a little bit of work when you think of processes and putting processes and systems in place, because, and the reason, the things that makes it difficult is understanding the importance of it and why they need to do it and how they fit into the bigger picture as your business scales. Okay. I see everyone is logged in. For those of you that just arrived, welcome. We are recording this session, and we will send you the recording, and we will also send you the PowerPoint presentation. So before we get stuck into the content, Naeem has just posted, just to get an idea of your industries. Please just select which industries you're in the poll. There's in construction, there's education, energy, food and bev. It's just to give you an idea. And I know it's not all the categories. Maybe that not all the categories. If you drop down, you'll see hospitality, real estate. Hopefully you fall in one of those categories, just so that I can have an indication of the type of industries that is here today, so I can use examples, because we work with companies in all different sectors. We run turnaround for productivity South Africa that focuses on lean management. So we work with companies in manufacturing. I see we have a nice mix. Construction is always a lot of companies in construction. There is in agriculture, education. There is quite a few in manufacturing, which is really great. We will go into detail in manufacturing sectors because it's a system type of business. Transportation, wholesale, great. So we have a wonderful mix. We have a wonderful mix of businesses. I'm just making notes quickly while I'm here. So there's a lot in construction. There is in manufacturing sectors. There's wholesale and distribution as well. So we have a very good mix today. Thank you guys for coming out and attending. There is information, there's agriculture as well. Excellent. Excellent. I'll just make a few notes of that, and I'll try and give some examples, you know, of companies in those sectors that we've worked for, quite a few in wholesale and distribution as well. Excellent. Okay, thank you very much. We can stop the poll. Excellent. So we have a great mix of companies. We're going to carry on. Excellent. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to look at operational planning, right? Before we can even start with operational planning, you need to have very, very clear short and long-term strategies and objectives. Okay. So remember, when we look at operational plan, your operations is getting you from point A to point B, right? Point A to point B. But you must remember, as any business, when you are growing, and that's what we want businesses to grow. You don't build a business just to carry on doing what you're doing, and you know, and do the operations and work that you're currently doing. There is expansion. Right. Remember, you want to expand. So if you have currently 2 staff, you want to have 10 staff. You want to have 20 staff. If you're doing 1 mil turnover, you want to have 2 mil turnover. When you do 2 mil turnover, you want 20 mil turnover. And when you get to 20, it's 200. It just goes up and up and up and up. So this is how you scale and you grow, right? So you need to have that strategy, right? Because when you grow, that is the challenging thing, because that is risky, because now you're using all your resources, you're using your staff, you're using all your time, all your equipment that you're using. So, and you're using your cash flow, because now there's a shortage of cash, because you now also need to buy more products and more goods. right? And more materials. So that is really challenging, right? And it doesn't matter which size you are. So how big you are, how small you are, that whole process is risky, right? But we're saying when you understand the risk, you understand the risk, you understand where you are, and you understand where you need to be, you know, right, that through that growth, you are going to be expecting more from every resource that you have, right? And there need to be a clear understanding that which of the resources that you have needs to be replaced or improved, right? And the only way to do that is to be able to track what is happening within your business. And that is part of operational planning. We're going to look at the activities, the things that you need to do, but you need to break it down into small pieces, right? Into small pieces that you can measure within your process. Now, the big things, right? So I'll give you a simple example, right? We run turnaround programs for Productivity South Africa. It specializes in systems and processes and lean management. So we go into many companies that's either delivering services or manufacturing sectors, and we go and we see why those companies are struggling. Because remember, for you to go into turnaround, right, it means that you have staff and things are not going well, and now you want to put staff off, right? So now we go in and we have to break down. We have to break down the operations. We have to break down every single task, because we need to have a very clear understanding on where the time, where the money, where the waste, where everything is going, right? So we break it down into little small pieces, and we make sure we're tracking everything. And most of the time, we don't track everything. And I'll give you a simple example. So something simple. So it was one of the companies, they do cleaning, laundry services. So it's they do, for example, the hospitals, the bedding and curtains, and for government departments, they do industrial laundry. So they have these machines, and they go fetch it, they put it in the machines, they clean it, they iron it, and they deliver it back to the hospitals. This is their job. So now they're struggling, they're struggling. So now we go through the whole process, and we find out through this, which takes a lot of time. Remember, it takes a lot of time to figure out the whole process. So now something simple, like when they go to the hospital, they get the buckets of dirty laundry, and they bring it back to the factory. Now they just take it and they put it into the machines, and it's big machines. So it's big machines. They take the buckets, they put it in, they put in the chemicals to clean it. And this is how they've been running the operation. So now we look at costs. We look at costs and we see, you know what? If they get a bucket that's halfway full, this is what we've observed, because we do it through observation. We see, okay, great. They take half a bucket of cleaning of clothes, and curtains, and they throw it in, but they put in the full amount of chemicals. So there's no one weighing it. There's no one weighing it quantity, and they're just putting it in the machines and throwing chemicals in. So now we do a simple calculation. We're saying, there's no one person doing that, because even though it's something they're doing, no one is actually measuring. So now we look at the cost of that. What does it cost if you're putting, and remember, chemicals is one of your major costs, and you're putting double the amount of chemicals to clean half a load every single time, and you're doing this, and you have literally 40, 50 different washes a day, right? And we look at those costs and we break it down. What is it costing the organization? Because now we're taking activities and we're breaking it down into little tasks that we can measure. Now we see, well, it's taking so much electricity, it's taking so much chemicals, and we can actually cut that by half. And we look at the savings, and it comes to close on to 100,000 rands. It's like, this is crazy. Just one little thing you're changing, and it's having such a big impact on your organization, because that is clear profit. Can we see how the operations, if you're measuring, it actually increases your profit, because that is profit that you're getting, direct profit, by improving your processes and by actually tracking every little step, and timelines, putting timelines on things, how much time it takes to deliver a task. And this is something important, because remember, if you have work that you need to do, it's construction, you've got a job that you need to do, you need to measure how much time you're going to take to do this job, right? But the time it takes depends also on the skill that you have, right? So now you need to measure time, you need to measure the skills the person has to actually deliver the work, right? All of these things needs to be done in order for you to measure, because people say like, how, like, what do we do? Do we get an experienced person? So you have a bricklayer, if you're in construction, you have a bricklayer that can put down, like in 1 hour, they can put down hundreds of bricks. And then you have another bricklayer. He will take his time and he will lay 20 bricks in an hour. Can we understand what I'm saying? So he takes a whole hour. He does a crazy good job. It looks very, very neat, but it takes very, very long to lay the bricks, right? So you're paying them different salaries, obviously, right? The one has more experience, but it impacts on your timelines on your project. And remember, you need to be as efficient as possible, because everything has a cost. Time has a cost. Your time that you're putting in, there's a cost to it, right? There's a cost to time. So you need to be tracking your projects over time, and you need to have performance indicators for every staff. If you do not have performance indicators, contracts, and agreements with your staff, you have a problem, right? So when you sit with them, you give them, yes, a job description, but you're giving them a task, and that task is dependent on where you are and where you need to be. It's not something that is set. Remember, when you employ someone initially, you have tasks for him to say, fine, this is your job, you're going to do this and this and this and this and this. That is when you start, right? But your business changes. Your business changes. So when you're putting indicators, your indicators is on what you're doing and where you need to be, whichever role you are in. So if you have someone in marketing, you have someone in sales, you have someone in operations, right? Logistics, it doesn't matter, right? You need to make sure that your indicators on things that you're going to be measuring that person with includes development, right? Development, right? And ways to move from A to B. It needs to be in your performance indicators, because you as a director, you don't always know everything, right? You don't know everything within your business, and you realize this, after time, right? That you only know so much, right? You want people in your business that is specialists in different areas, that is also developing themselves in those areas and finding ways to improve what it is that they are doing, so they can do a better job. They can do it in a shorter space of time, so that you can do more with your current resources. That's your objective. That's your objective. So if you're doing 1 mil turnover with your current staff, you want to be able to do 2 or 5 mil with that same staff if you are more efficient. And this is what you want to put those systems and indicators in place, because if you are not measuring it, it is not getting done. This is how it works. If you don't measure it, it's not getting done. This is how it works in reality. People do the least they can. Right? If they don't have to do something, they're not going to do it. If they're not going to go and say, fine, I brought this laundry in. I now need to go and check it. I need to go and weigh it. I need to write in a logbook. This is the kilograms. This is how much chemicals I use. I don't need to put it on a full cycle. I can put it on a half cycle because it's only a half a load. Or I keep the load. Instead of doing it now, I know the client wants it right now, right? Because they need it. But if I wait for the next load, I can do it in the next load, right? When I get that in from the client, right? So those are things which needs to be put in place, and someone needs to track it. It's not just one person, right? Every process, every system, every indicator, someone is doing it, someone is checking it, someone is reviewing it, someone is analyzing it, and through that information, you're making decisions in your business. Okay, so I know, yes, you need people, you need those resources, you need tools to do all of the things, within your business. And yes, everything has a budget and everything has a cost. So if you go for finance and you in manufacturing, or you in construction, now you go to IDC, you go to NEF, National Empowerment Fund, or you go to CFA, right? Small Enterprise Financial Agency, and you go to them and you say, you know what? I need a new machine for my business. I need a tractor for my business. Okay, right? I need a cement maker for my business, right? Whichever industry that you're in, right? A forklift, whatever. They're going to come to you and going to say, fine, but how do you justify that you need that? Because at the end of the day, that costs a lot of money, right? And if they're going to give you the money, they need to know how are you going to utilize that resource. So they need to have an operation. They want to see your operational plan. How are you going to utilize that piece of equipment within your business? Who is going to use it? Because you need to have someone that will be able to utilize that equipment. How many hours of the day are you going to use it? How is that piece of machinery going to improve your outputs? Yes. This is the information they want to know from you. To say, fine, how are you doing it now? No, we're doing it manually. We need to move these boxes around and we do it manually now. So we have 3 people that's going to move it, right? And this is how we're doing it now. But if we have a forklift, it's going to improve our time that we're taking to do it. We can do a lot more. We can now take that forklift and we can stack things higher than what we could normally do with that forklift. So we're saving space. This is the cost that it's saving. You need to give them the full breakdown. You know what happens when you do that? If you give them the full breakdown of that cost and you give it to them on a document, you give them your operational plan, you know what? It's going to make it a lot easier for them to give you that finance, to say, here's the finance, go and buy it. Here's your machine, go and buy the machine, because they know that you've done this plan. You're going to use it effectively. It's going to bring in income, additional income, and pay for itself if it's paid for. And if it's grant funding, you're going to grow. And through that growth, you're going to employ people. And you must remember how funding works in South Africa, right? You have different types of funding. If there's funding for jobs, that's the biggest one. So in other words, you're growing, and as a result of growth, you're employing more people. That is the easiest funding to get, right? That is the easiest funding to get. There's funding for efficiency. Yes, there's improving efficiency and capacity and delivering on contracts. So in other words, you get a contract to go and cut grass for the city. You know their budgets are nice and big. Now you need more machinery. Instead of going to hire it, you want to buy one. No problem. You need to have a plan. You need to have an operational plan and how this piece of equipment fits in, right? So you're going to be very, very specific on your tasks and activities that is going to be required within your business. And it needs to be very, very clear and measurable. No gray areas. No gray areas. There can't be gray areas in your business, things that you are not clear about, because when there's gray areas, it means waste. It means waste. Even things that you're doing for free. So I'll use the same example of the company that does the laundry. What they do is they take the clothes, the curtains out and the bedding, and now they see some of it is damaged. So some of it is damaged. So now through the washing. So what they do is they have a lady that goes and sews it up. They have a machine. They actually go and fix it. They fix it and then they iron it and it looks very, very nice. So now I'm saying that is great. When I looked at it, I say, we're going because now we're looking for everything in that business that they are doing. So now we see, I think that is very good. That is a service. Now I go to the client and I ask the client, are you aware that they do that? Are you aware that they do? So now they say, no, they're not aware. They're just doing it because they said, well, it's now broken. They're going to fix it. So now we go and we see how many towels, how many beds they're actually fixing, right? So now we're saying that is important information. So if you're sitting, because remember, it's taking time from that person. That person is sitting, actually he's got a machine and actually goes and fixes it. We need to put a cost on that. Because I mean, it's cost time and energy to go and clean, to do that. We need to put a cost on it, and we need to use that in promoting our offering to say, you know what, you need to use we take care of your products, and give it to us instead of giving it to Bidvest. Can we see now we using that? We're using that valuable information, but we need to track and we need to measure it. We need to measure that. So we need to get that value of what it is that we do and what it is that we do extra. We need to measure it. We need to package it and we need to use it to promote our services and our offering, because that's what separates us, isn't it, from everyone else in our business. We're not all, we in the same industries, but we need to look at what separates us. So we need to measure that. They call it like the X factor. What makes us different to everyone else in our business? What makes us different? Those are the things that we need to measure, that you need to package, right? That you need to package, right? Timelines and deadlines. Those are things that you need to put in. You need to have deadlines and milestones in your business, right? And this is why you have your operational session. You cannot be stuck in operation mode and just carry on with operations. There is always deadlines and there is always milestones. Those things are important because that creates push, right? It's create a push in your business to say, you know what, we're not comfortable here. We don't want to be in that position where we are comfortable in our business. Oh, that is a very dangerous place to be in. You don't want to be comfortable. You know what? We're just carrying on, doing our day-to-day operations, and we're making some money, and we are comfortable. No, there's no such thing. You need to have that deadlines. You need to have pressure, right? Because that's how growth comes in a business. You need to have pressure. You need to have that targets. You know what? We did this month. If you are doing the same things that you did last year, this year, then there's a problem. There's a problem. There's a problem with your operational plan and your strategy, because the thing is, you need to push, because there is so much opportunities for you to do a lot more and grow a lot more. And this is what we want for all of you that are there. We want you to grow fast and take the opportunities that is there. Put those deadlines in, right? Put those deadlines in. These are things that you want done on that date. That is it, right? And we're going to hold you accountable, right? When people hold you accountable for a deadline, right, that creates push and energy. Someone is looking at me. Someone is tracking what I'm doing, right? And if there is a milestone to say, you know what, I've achieved it, You're going to stop what you are doing as a business owner, and you're going to say, you know, you're going to celebrate. You want to do this because, look, it is tough work growing a business. It is hard work. You're going to push, and you want everyone in your business to push. So when you have a milestone that you've achieved, you stop for a second. You stop for a second and you say, you know what? Well done, everyone. Well done. You know what? We're not exactly where we need to be, but we have achieved this. You stop and you celebrate with your team and your staff. Why? Because it gives you that boost and energy to push even more after that. Gives you that energy. And you remember, you need it. It's a lot of work we're doing in our businesses, right? You're asking more of everyone. You're asking more of everyone. So you want to have those milestones. You're having that pause. You energize and you carry on again. Okay. So remember the KPIs that we've said. For those of you, I know that some of you are just joined us. For those that just joined, welcome. We're going to send you the PowerPoint and the recording. So everything that we've discussed earlier, you're not going to miss out. We will share it with you. You can take a quick look. And the nice thing about a recording, you can just forward the parts that you're not interested. You can just forward, right? So your KPIs, we said, if you don't, you need to measure everything, right? And remember, not only where you are, but where you want to be. And you need to be able to track those KPIs. And remember, your KPIs is tasks that you need to do to deliver your services and your products, and it's broken down into small pieces. The smaller the better, right? The smaller the better, right? And you need to track all of the pieces that's involved. You can't miss things. You can't miss things in that. Okay, so we look at the human resource, which is the big one, right? So when we say human resources is the biggest one, because it's people that you're working with, and you need to maximize. You need to maximize. And remember, based on past research that was done, on average, people in South Africa work at 40% of their capacity. And that is crazy, right? If you think about it, 40%, if you compare to countries like Germany and China operating in the high 90s, right? It is our productivity levels is very low in South Africa. And that is because we're not measuring. We need to measure. We need to put systems in place that allows us to do more. So if we understand this, right? When we understand this, that we as business managers, as owners, as directors of our business, we get the maximum out of people that works for us, right? And we need to be measured as well as directors to make sure that we are doing what we need to do within our business, right? But the key thing is clarity. We need to be clear before we employ people. Before, you cannot employ someone and expect that person to figure things out in your business. You need to have your operational management plan already there, because remember, that is your business. That is how you do things. That is what separates you from everyone else, right? That is your intellectual property. No one else can do that for you. You're going to do that first. You're going to do it. And remember, this takes time. Once you have that plan, your human resources, then you get someone to make sure that those little tasks, those tasks are being done and tracked. Okay. And you look at the skill, right? You look at the skill, and this is important because when you look at people that you're putting in positions, the qualifications, look, and people come, when we do consulting work, we do training and consulting work for government. We use a lot of consultants, you know what? And when we do facilitation as well, we use a lot of facilitators to do the work for us. We are not, and they come with their CVs, and we look at it and we see PhDs, 15 years experience. I'm not interested in any of that, right? I'm not interested in any of that. I need to know what you can do, right? And what you have done, and show me, right? Show me what you can do. Show me what you're able to do. That is what I'm interested in, not in the qualifications and pieces of paper, right? So those are very, very important things, because the thing is, if you have the wrong people, you're going to struggle. Listen, you're going to struggle, right? You're going to struggle not only to deliver on operations, you're going to struggle to manage people, because it's difficult to manage people. And if you have the wrong people, it costs you more time to manage them than the value they're adding to your organization. And you need to make very, very important decisions in your business. Do you have the right people? Do you have the right people? And if you have the right people, are they happy? Because this is the thing with retention, right? We work with one of the companies. They do panel beating and spray painting. That is a niche area. So now they say, you know what? They do things a certain way here. They train their spray painters so well. They are brilliant, but once they're nicely qualified, they have their papers, Mercedes comes and they offer them a nice job with a nice salary, and there they go. They can't retain their staff and skills. Remember, and it costs you money to train and upskill someone within your organization, because remember, they're not only learning a skill, they are learning how to do things here in my business. It's valuable. You must understand how valuable this human resource is. They're understanding your system. They are a valuable person. They understand your team. They're working with your team. They understand your communication channels right up and down within your organization. So it is valuable, right? If you lose them, how long is it going to take you to train another person to do that job? So retention is a very, very important part of operations, to retaining the staff and people that you do. And now people ask, now, how do I do this? You make sure that they are happy. You make sure you are happy. And I remember one of the guys, Jack Welsh, the director of General Electric, he's regarded as one of the greatest managers of all time. Yes, he wrote multiple books, right? So they interview him, they ask him, what has made you what has made you the greatest manager of all time? Took a business and grew it into $1 billion business. How did you do this? He said he doesn't know. He doesn't know. All he did was he spent a lot of time in HR asking his staff, are you happy? Are you happy here? And they said, yes, I'm happy here. And some said, no, no, not so happy here. And then you ask, okay, great. What would you like to do? Well, I'm here in operations, but I would prefer to be in marketing or there. Okay, great. Can you get up and go there? You understand? And this is what he did. This is how he became the greatest manager of all time. He just made sure that his staff is happy. They're feeling valued. They're feeling appreciated. They're adding value. They're getting along with the people around them, and that is very, very important. That is very important for you to be able to do that within a business, and that takes time and energy, because remember, your human resource is very, very valuable. You need to keep them. And if you have good staff, you're going to move very, very fast, right? You're going to move very fast. Financial resources, yes. You need to have very good control of your budgets, right? You need to have financial plan, and you need to be able to forecast ahead of time. Now, people say, but how do we do this? Do we need to see in the future? Do we need to hire psychic people that can see into the future? No. You remember, you have a plan, right? So if you know If you have a good, resource management system, right? You have a good operational system. What that allows you to do, to say, fine, I'm doing 1 mil, or I'm doing 500,000. My strategy and my targets is to do 10 mil. I now know if I'm gonna do 10 mil, I'm gonna need X amount of cash flow now, and you're gonna know exactly. Listen, you're going to know exactly how much money you're going to need, because you know exactly how much money you're currently spending. You know what your capacity is, and you know what capacity you're operating. So if I go into a company that is manufacturing, that is distributing, I ask them a question, and this is how I know. I ask them, at which capacity are you currently operating with your current staff, with your current equipment, with your current machinery, with your current cash flow? At which percentage are you currently operating? If you can answer that question and give me an exact percentage, then I know they have a very good operational system and they're keeping track of everything, because now they know at which capacity. If you cannot answer that question, then I know we have a lot of work to do. Can we understand how it works? Then I know how we have a lot of work to do, because now we're going to have to go and figure it out for them. And that takes a lot of time. And this is why it's important for you guys to make sure that you're able to do that forecast on where you want to be, because the last thing you want to be is scaling. And this is what we find. We're working with companies now that have scaled so fast. They put money into machinery because they needed to build capacity, and now they're struggling just to stay afloat. They cannot pay their staff. They cannot pay their staff. They're looking for cash flow because they don't have cash flow to actually do their operations, right? And the thing is, this should have been forecasted if they had the proper systems in place, right? To say, no, we actually need this amount of money. If we have so much contracts we need to deliver on, this is what it's going to cost for our material, just to pay for material and running costs of the business. They should have had those figures. Can we understand, right? Where the problems come, because this is what we do when companies are in distress or they're in problems. We start with the problem, but then we work backwards, and then we figure out, okay, great. Now we go backwards and we figure out, where does it actually start? And it starts with the planning. They didn't plan properly. They didn't plan properly, right? And that's very, very important. Physical resource, equipment, technology management, inventory control, and waste. Oh, listen, I can go on and on waste, right? When we look at in any business, it's not just materials that is wasted, right? Building materials that is wasted. It is time. It is time that is wasted, right? I'll give you a simple example. So one of the companies, they do, I say, you're tracking. Let me see your controls. Give me your controls that you measure on operations. So now I look at the charts. I say, fine. Okay, great. But I see some gaps here. I see some gaps in here. So now he said, oh no, but it's not major. He says it's not major. I say, okay, fine. I will determine if it's not major or not. So I say, when do they arrive on site? So what he does is he does garden services. So they do garden, they cut grass and trees. So he has like 4 teams. They have a bucket. They have teams that goes in the bucket. They go out to the sites and they do the cleaning. They do the mowing. They load everything up and they go to the next site. And this is what they do. So I say, okay, you have these buckets. When did they arrive on site? Something simple. So I said, no, they there early morning, right? And they're doing their job. And where do they leave? Because you're not there. You can't go to the sites. These drivers are there and supervisors. So now what we do is something simple. Now they don't know. No one knows, right? This is what we do. We put trackers on the vehicle. So now they never had trackers on the vehicles, right? So now we put trackers on the vehicle. I say we need to measure everything. So now the trackers these days, you can see exactly when they're moving, where they're moving, right? And it keeps all that data, wonderful data. So now we put trackers on the vehicle. Listen. So now we see, but now no one knows there's trackers on the vehicle, right? We're doing it to assess what is happening. You know, why is the business struggling to stay afloat? You understand? It shouldn't be because they have contract. Now we go and we see, you know what? They go pick up the guys and they're supposed to be on site at 8 o'clock. They arrive on site. Remember, it's 5 teams now of people with people in them. Right, so it's got guys in there that's doing the work. It's got the equipment in there. Like they arrive 1 hour late on average every day. They leave. They leave like a half an hour sometimes an hour earlier every day, every day, every day. So now we're saying, oh. And then in the middle of the night, vehicles are also moving. Why? Where are they parked? No, this is the driver. He goes home and he picks them because they're in these areas. So he needs to go pick them up early morning. But in the middle of the night, it's driving. It's moving like, how is this vehicles moving around? So now listen, we do a calculation. Just the time, that half an hour's early morning, half an hour. Remember, it's now time that has gone out. It's a whole team of people that is working late. It's work that is not getting done. We put a cost on it. Listen, we put the cost on that half an hours and hours. We put a cost on the fuel and kilometers that is driven by the vehicles. Listen, it comes to hundreds of thousands that is costing this business. Hundreds of thousands. Some things they didn't even know this was happening because now they haven't been measuring those things. You understand? It has a major cost on operations, on work that could have been done, on timelines, on costs. Everyone is getting paid, but they're not working. Can we understand how it impacts one small thing that you're not measuring? So you need to be measuring everything. Right. Everything needs to be measured. Everything needs to be measured. One of the companies, they manufacture burgers. So now they have a different range. They have different ranges. But the amount of waste, right? You cannot even understand the amount of waste that it's actually better not to do these ranges, have less waste, right? Very, very important, simple calculation in construction, and you have a whole a whole bag full of cement that hasn't been utilized, but the next day it's all hard. Those are very, very important things that you need to keep track because every little bit counts, right? If you add it up, if you add those little bits up of waste, remember, if you cut down on waste, it's clear profit, eh? Remember, that is profit. That's money coming off the top, right? So you need to be tracking those things. Very, very important in your business, right? So we look at techniques. So yeah, you need to focus on high impact activities, right? What is the major things in your business that separate you? So this is where we look at prioritizing, right? What is important that we need to do in a business? And this is why you have operational meetings. Listen, minimum once to twice a week. What is an operational meeting? You're discussing operational issues relating to operations and how to improve it. And what is important for you to be able to do? What is your focus? You need to prioritize it, right? And we're not saying have an hour meeting because, people love meetings. We're not saying have a meeting for a whole hour. We're saying an operational meeting, it's 10 minutes. Before you go, you know what you need to go, right? Your teams come in, they're going out, 10 minutes. What do you need to do today? What are you doing? What is your priority today? Right? What are the challenges? So you have it in the morning, you have it or the late evening when you finish. You're having those sessions to focus on on challenges that you had, on ways that you're going to improve, you need to have those catch-up sessions. I cannot stress it enough how important that is, right? Because you don't know what is happening if there's no clear communication up and down within your organization, right? Technology, yes, and we'll go through a few of them. We're in the age of technology. There is wonderful, wonderful tools. Remember, the main purpose of technology, right, is to be able to track, to make things easier. This is the thing, right? It makes things easier, but people are scared. Some people are scared of technology. So now they steer away from it. But the technology, if you understand it, it's supposed to make things easier, right? It's supposed to make things easier. You're supposed to save time, right? So when we look at how to use technology, how to use AI, listen, if you are not using it in your business, people ask like how does it impact me? It should impact every single business because the AI does things quicker and easier than a human, and it's automated. It does it without you, right? You set it up. So you need to use technology and automation. And if you look at the cost, right, it is minimal. Always you're looking at the costs of AI, cost of technology. It is the cost of it, right, is a fraction of the cost of what it's going to cost you to do it yourself. Because remember, you're looking at time you're putting in and investment and value you're getting out. So when you look at the technologies, if you take the time, and I know it is scary. Even if it is scary when you look at it because you don't understand it. This is the chat. This is the thing. So, but when you understand it and you embrace it and you said, you know what, this is what I need to do, because if you are not evolving, right, you're doing things the way it's been done 50, 100 years ago, and you competing against a new age business that can do things much quicker and better than you are at a disadvantage. This is how it is, guys. You're at a disadvantage. You're at a disadvantage. You're starting your business, you're working very, very hard, but you're at a disadvantage because you're competing against companies that are using equipment and machinery that is far superior, that can do work half the time. So now these companies, I'll give you one simple example. They make desks, office desks, but not any desks. When you walk in to F&B, that display desk where the receptionist sits behind, that's what they do. They specialize in that display desks and furniture, right? So now what they do is they say, you know what? They have a virtual studio. They create your desk for you, right? They create 2 or 3 options. You put on the virtual camera and you are literally in your office or in your front reception area, and they give you 2 or 3 options that they've created through virtual, and you can walk through and see what it looks like, and then you say, which one would you like? This one or this one or this one? And they create it for you with robotics. It is next level. It is next level. But they are sitting with major contracts with FNB, with banks and corporate companies, because this is what companies want. They want innovation, right? They want that experience. They want something unique. You understand what I'm saying? And the cost is irrelevant. The cost is irrelevant. We want something unique, something that says, this is our brand, this is our organization. And when you walk into that office and you speak to that receptionist and you see that display, wow, professional. You understand? They want that. So this is why you need to understand how important that technology is, right? And if you accept it, there's videos, there's tutorials, there is support, and I can promise you this: the more you play with it, the easier it becomes. And I can tell you this because I'm not a technical person, I am a non-technical person, which is why I have a team at the back end that helps me with all the technical things. But if you play with it and you see the value, it becomes easier after time. It becomes easier. I promise you, it becomes easier after time. So when we look at lean management, is how to reduce waste, right? How to maximize value, and you grow, right? You build as you grow. The bare necessities. You build the bare necessities. This is what you need to do as you scale, right? And this is what it allows you to do when you look at the processes. You're using 80, 90%. You're staying 80, 90% of your capacity. When you get to 100%, now you start building capacity again, right? As you need it, right? Because remember, you need to keep cash flow as well, right? Continuous improvement. This is what we said. We are never happy. You always in a process of, you know what? You're questioning it. You question everything. What, can't we do this? Isn't there a better way? This is why you have performance and development contracts. There's development in all the areas. You're going to have the sessions and the questions you ask. Isn't there a better way? Isn't there a better way to do this? Because if you are in an industry that is competitive, which is all industries, and you find a way to do something quicker and cheaper, more effective, what does it allow you to do to make a profit and have a lower cost? If you have a lower cost, your chances of getting work is higher, right? But you need to be asking those type of questions every day. And you start with each item. How can I improve? It's a question you're going to ask yourself and your team. How can I do this better, quicker, more effectively? How can I do it? How can I do it cheaper? Can I do it cheaper? You understand? Right? These are the questions that you're going to ask yourself throughout your process. Right? Identifying and assessing mitigating risk. It is risky to grow. It is risky. Remember, you in business, you say, you know what? Can we do this? It's scary. It's scary because now you're making decisions. So there is risk. There is risk. So you need to identify what it is, right? What the risks are in scaling quickly. Yes, I need to have people to do it, right? But there is options that you have. There's options that you have when you scale because yes, you can outsource. You can outsource certain things, right? Instead of doing it yourself, you can outsource certain things instead of doing it yourself, right? But you need to identify what the risk is. What if I've got a job and there's no materials? What do I do? What do I do? There's a shortage of material. How is it going to impact on my business? And this is why when we say risk management, it's always worst case. The worst case. You in manufacturing, there's no supply. I can't get cement or bricks. What is it gonna impact on my business? Right. Fuel price goes up. Material price goes up. I can't get certain materials or products. There's no stock. There's no power. Power goes up. What happens? What happens in that worst case scenario? Something happens to my operational. Listen, we've seen businesses that we've worked with, right? They have an operational manager. This guy, this guy knows everything about the business. He understands the operations. He does everything. He does everything, right? So now you factor what happens if that person is involved with everything and there's no knowledge transfer up and down. This is why you need to be assessing that as risk. If you have a job that needs to be done or someone is doing a job, right? Knowledge needs to move up and down. Everyone needs to know what that person's job and role is. You need to know what that person's role is very, very clearly and what they does. There cannot be a situation now it happens. Great, that no one knows what he does. He does it. Does it, and it's a secret. It's a secret. He does wonderful things because now imagine that is a critical part of your organization. Something happens to that person. Oh, what happens? What happens to your business now? You understand what I'm saying? If something happens to that person, what happens to your business if something happens to you? You, the main person in that business. What happens to your business? Does it still operate? Because remember what we're saying, guys. A business is a machine that operates without you. It's a money machine that makes money. It makes money. So you should be able to give your machine to someone with a manual. Like you go and buy a vacuum cleaner, you get a manual with it, and you buy it, and here you can go read the manual and you know how to use the vacuum. It's the same with your business. You have your business plan, you have all your strategies, you have your financial strategy, you have your management strategy, you have your operational strategy, you have your risk strategy. All of those things is documented. You can take it and you can give it to someone and you can say, you are now CEO of my business. You can run it. You need to make 20 million next year. Good luck. I'm going on a holiday. Hey, wouldn't that be great? Right. This is what we're saying. Right. What happens if something happens to you? Have you put the processes in place that allows you to do that? This is the difficult questions that you need to ask yourself. Right. Worst case scenario. Are you prepared for it? Are you prepared? So if you have put in and you've done the work, you've documented, you assessed all your risk, you've documented that you should be able to do that. You should be able to, right? You evaluate the impact, likelihood of things not going to plan. There's a saying, you're right. You plan to fail. What they say is, it's not a negative statement. What they say is, if this should go wrong, what am I going to do? Because if you've planned that these things go wrong and you have a plan to say, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this, it makes you more prepared. So that's what they say, right? Plan to fail. And then what can I do? What can I do to rectify? So you prioritize risks based on severity. Remember, you need to focus on the issue. And if you're not clear on it, right? If you're not clear, you're not aware of what is happening, you cannot wait till it's too late. You cannot wait till it's too late, right? You need to be aware of it upfront. And if you're not measuring, when you figure it out, then most of the time it is too late. Right. Most of the time it is too late. So you're going to prioritize. Look, this is serious. This is serious, right? Everyone needs to be clear, right? That we need to do this. We need to take these steps. Remember, if you are the person in charge of your organization, right? When there's an issue, right? When there's an issue or a challenge in the business, right? I don't speak to directors. No, I won't speak to a director. If you say you have a challenge with stock, you're having a challenge with waste, you're having a challenge with getting clients in, right? Right? You're having a challenge with distribution, right? Whatever the challenge is, you telling me you the director, you saying you know this is an issue that you're having, you're trying to figure this out. I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to speak to you. You say, fine. I want to speak to the driver there. I want to speak to your administrator there. I want to speak to your tea lady that's making tea for you there. I want to speak to them and they need to tell me what the priority is of this organization. It needs to be communicated top to bottom, so that everyone is pushing. This is what we mean by priority. Everyone is aware of this challenge and they're doing their best, right, to overcome it, because if they don't, the company's not there anymore. The company closed down and there's no jobs for anyone. Can we understand how this works? It needs to be prioritized, and you prioritize it as the owner of the business. Okay, so when things happen, right, and there's risk, there's various ways, so you can choose. You choose, let's not do this job now. Let's just not put us in that position. So we're gonna just avoid it totally. We're gonna avoid it totally. We're not gonna take the risk, right? Remember, you're gonna weigh the pros and the cons of each one. So there's various strategies. You can choose. You choose. Let's steer away for this for now. Let's just continue what we're doing. Let's build. Why? Because the time we're still figuring things out. We don't want to scale this. Let's do it next year. Let's do it next year. That's avoidance, right? Right. That's avoidance. Reduction, minimize the impact or likelihood. So what can we do to prevent it from happening, right? What can we put in place to prevent it from happening, right? Those are things that we can do upfront. We can do upfront, right? Which is reducing the chance. Outsourcing, transfer some of it. You know what? We cannot afford. We're running low on cash, right? Can we outsource these tasks? Can we outsource these tasks instead of us having to do it? Because remember now, you look at the cost of what it costs you to do it. Sometimes, remember, every business is different. It might be easier for you to outsource and get someone to do it, right? Remember, every task can be outsourced. You do marketing, you do sales, you do advertising, you do graphics. There's companies that does the content, they do the marketing for you. If you must employ someone, 1 or 2 people to do that, you pay them each 10 grand each. There's companies that will deliver the service for 3 grand. They do it every month. They post on all your channels. They do the content. They do the funneling and build your app for 4,000 rands. And they specialize in it, which means they are specialists in it, right? So those are things which you can outsource. Do you need to do the transport yourself? Because there's companies that can do the transport at a fraction of the cost, and you can move that cost to the client. You want it, you delivered it, we add it onto your price. We don't do it, someone else does it. But because what is it costing me to do the delivery myself? You understand? So you need to look at ways to reduce cost. Instead of purchasing my stock, can I get stock on 30 days? I'll pay more for the stock, but I don't have to pay now, because this is the issue. I have a cash flow issue now, right? I have a cash flow issue now. I'm willing to pay you more for those products, but I can only pay you 30 days or 60 days. Those are things you're going to do to limit your risk. You're going to form those type of agreements to make it easier for you to mitigate your risk as you go. These are things that you need to do. You're going to access finance. You're going to go and look at what finance you can access for cheaper. Cash flow finance, invoice factoring finance, bridging finance. You're going to understand what it costs, right? What is the risk involved? Am I making sufficient profit? As is the cost of the finance in there? How long is it going to take me to access it? What do I need to access it? You're going to find out these things beforehand, right? Beforehand, you're going to find out these things, right? And acceptance lasts years. This is happening. We're going to lose this property now. We're going to need to find, you need to accept it. You need to accept it. And you're going to plan contingencies. What can I do to keep this business afloat? Do I need to move out of my office? Do I need to share offices with other companies? Do I need an office? Right. It's important decisions that you need to make. People are working remotely now. Yes. They have Zoom meetings instead of face-to-face meetings. Do I need an office? Can I share an office with someone? Can I share factory space with someone? Right? To reduce those are things which you need to consider, right? You need to consider to keep the wheels turning, right? When businesses go up and down, and you need to understand this, any business, any size, you have ups and you have downs. Especially when COVID came, a lot of businesses did not survive that because of planning. They didn't plan for it, right? And who could? But the businesses that survived, they were able to have good processes in. They have partnerships in place. They had good negotiation skills. They downsized, but they still operated, right? And now they're growing again. So this is what we're saying. Businesses have ups and downs, guaranteed, guaranteed. No matter what business you're in, which industry you're in, you are guaranteed you're going to have ups and downs. It's how you deal through, how you work through the downs that's gonna show how successful you are in the future. Okay, very, very important. So process optimization. Right. It's a very, very important, whether you're in services, whether you're in manufacturing. There's quite a few companies that was here that is manufacturing. Your streams and how products flows through your business. Remember, it's how the machine works. You need to optimize. Any business that is in manufacturing need to have these systems, right? And there's many, yes, there's ISO systems. That is very, very good. It's also very, very costly. So depending on your industry, yes, you can go and you can buy these software, these packages that helps you streamline your processes. That's costly, but also they need to understand. Then this is the challenge with some systems and SAP systems, operational systems, that it's so complicated, right? It's so complicated. Not everyone understands it. Not everyone understands how to put the data in or how it works, right? So it's important for you as you grow, when you're optimizing your processes, you're streamlining it, keep things simple. Keep it simple so that everyone understands how the process needs to work and how you're putting data in to track it. As simple as possible. And if you can automate, even better, even better. The more you can automate, the easier it is to scale. So remember now, you're building capacity, right, to multiply what you are doing. So if I come to you now and I say, you know what, you're doing 1 bill. Here's a 10 bill contract. Remember, you're doing 1 bill. Here is a 10 bill contract. Can you do it? Now you're going to look at your business, you're going to say, oh, now you're going to assess, because now, do I have the capacity? What do I need to do to be able to multiply what I'm doing times 10? Because this is what you're saying. You're going to times 10 what I'm doing now, right? So you're going to look at your human resources, you're going to look at your processes, you're going to look at your current capacity, right? What can I outsource? But you're going to look at what is automated, because the more automation you have, the easier it is to scale, because the less human resources you need to actually go and do those things. It does it by itself, and it's able to multiply, right? So you put automation, and it helps with scaling. And that is why it's a very important part of a business. So if you're operating 2, 3 years, 4 years, now you need to think of, how can I automate certain tasks that is taking my time? Because you need to put time in to the areas that need your time. And if I can automate something, if I can automate something, I would rather automate it and free up time that I can put somewhere else. It's decisions that you need to make. Yes, there's a cost, but the cost of the automation and the cost of what you're getting in return It's much better. It's much, you're freeing up time to put it in prioritizing what it is that you need. And this is, it's like steering ships. You're steering your ship and you put automation so you can take time out from your engine room, right? I don't need to be working there in the engine room. I'm going to automate some of this functionality so that I can actually go and steer my ship. This is what you need to do, right? How can you, and it's questions that you need to ask yourself. Yes, you need to put time into developing your staff. And I will leave it at that because the thing is, I can talk for very, very long on that. Let's just say every month there need to be improvement, development for your staff. You can access SETA funding. Hopefully you guys are registered with the different SETAs, whether you're in construction SETA, right? Chemical SETAs, services SETA, all of them. You register with them. Why? To access development and trading, right? To access development and trading, right? And remember, through the mandatory and discretionary grants, right? 1% of your salaries goes into their fund. You need to go and access it, right? You need to access it. Your mandatory grants through the SETA for developing your staff. You also get scoring on your scorecards on your BEE for development if you're bigger companies, but you need to be developing your staff. There's tax incentives and government gives you. You're putting it in not for those reasons, because you're developing so you can become more efficient, right? And you need to make sure, you need to see what the cost is, because this is the thing. Companies, when you grow, like, oh, you know what? I have to train staff because now if they're going to have a qualification, they're going to go somewhere and someone's going to pay them more. You cannot see it like that. You need to see that you are able to do more with staff and you want to develop them. You want to invest in them so that they can invest in your business, right? And it's very, very important. You want to upskill, right? You want to upskill and make sure you have the staff that is also developing themselves. So they need to have a development plan for each one of them, right? Especially use of technology and AI. They don't know it. There's courses that they can attend, and most of it is free. So I mean, it just takes time, putting the time in and making sure that you are tracking that for your staff. Okay. So performance, we mentioned that before, right? You are the purpose of tracking and putting KPIs. It's no point. It's no point. You have KPIs that you need to measure, and no one is looking at it. Because I mean, what is the point? The point of assessing and having every single staff member document what is their KPIs. They're giving you a performance report on what they needed to do. What percentage? Why didn't they achieve those targets? They're giving it to you, and you're going to review it and analyze it. Why? Because you're going to make a decision based on it. Financial decisions, prioritizing what is important. Those decisions are going to be made by reviewing and analyzing your metrics. This is how we read. So when we go into a business, we look at their records, we look at their documents, we look at performance. Before we speak to people, before we speak to them, we want to see where the issues is and figure out how to improve efficiency, performance, and health of the business. We go and we track and analyze through the data that is there. Okay, through the data that is there. You're reviewing it all and you cannot wait. Listen, you cannot wait. We've seen this many, many times. We've seen companies that has gone down, very, very quickly. As they grew, they just went down because performance contracts wasn't in place, right? Performance contracts wasn't in place and it wasn't enforced. It wasn't enforced, right? So please be very, very careful with that. Okay. So there's lots of tools. We're not going to go into detail. Yes, Microsoft projects, right? Very affordable. Zoho, all of them have startup packages that you can use for free. So they have a startup packages that you can use that has lots and lots of functionality, right? that you can use, and then you get a pro version, which gives you more and more functionality, right? And most of these programs allow that. So there's an entry level that will cost just a few rand, and then the more functionality you need, right, will increase later on. So if you're a small business, great, you start with a small package, and there's even of them, the Microsoft Teams, there is Zoho, right? These platforms that are free that you can use and test. They give you trial periods. Isn't that great, right? So you go and you test it out. You test it first, you see how it works, how easy it is to use, and use them for your business. If you look at the Zoa One, we use it for our business. I mean, we literally can do anything. You run your marketing campaigns on there. You do your invoicing on there. You do your websites on there. You right, and the list goes on. You have your CRM, your customer management systems on there as well. You're doing your M&E and the reporting systems all with Zoho. They have over 100 different apps part of the Zoho platform. So very, very cheap and affordable, right? It's a small cost, but they're giving you a lot of value. Microsoft, all of them, right? Google, they have loads and loads of free analytic tools. Even Excel, crazy amount of free tools that you can actually utilize. And look, most people don't use them. Most people don't use them. So what we say, the tools is there. The tools is there that you can use. You need to use what is the best and easiest for your staff, because the thing is, it's the tool you use, everyone must be able to use it in your if there's one or two that doesn't, you're gonna run courses, you're gonna give them tutorials that they can actually watch on their phone. You make it easy for them. Yes, some people are averse to it. They struggle with the technology, but